The Against All Odds podcast, sponsored by Oak Forest Recovery.
This is the Against All Odds podcast. I'm Hunter. We're here with Michael, RJ, and Rachel.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah. Thanks for
Thanks
coming
for
back.
being here.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. We did this, how long ago was that we attempted to do this?
About 4 months ago.
Yeah, that's right.
Attempted and failed.
That went by quick.
Yeah.
It did go by quick.
Yeah. Wow.
Time flies when you're having fun.
So you guys grew up together.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, we actually, so the first time that we met, I was at it's kind of like a city fair. That's probably the best way to explain it. And I was there with my brother-in-law and we were standing in line and we lived in the country. Michael's from the city. And we were standing in line. We're like, I wonder if we can just like ask anybody if they'll like sell us weed. And we turned around and this kid was standing behind us and we're like, hey, you know where to get any weed? And he's like, actually, yeah. And he called Michael and we met him in this alleyway and he just like straight pulls a bag out and some scales, starts weighing weed out like literally right there in the alley. And tell him what happened next.
All right, so basically, like my buddy called me and said he wanted some bud. So I was like, yeah, I got it on me. Met him behind a bus station. Like there was like people like a couple hundred feet away, like 2 football fields away. You could see the whole crowd of people, thousands of people. And I'm with my buddy, like 2 or 3 of my friends, and Hunter's with his brother-in-law. And waving some bud out, you know, he's gonna go his way, and then all of a sudden I see this guy come walking out of the bushes and he's like pulling his pants up and like buttoning his buckle. I'm like, and it's dark out. I'm like, oh, like dude just got some like, you know what I mean, got it in, I guess. And then the craziest part is like the next second a girl comes walking out and it's my buddy that I'm with, this old lady. And he's like they're dating, like they're in a full blown relationship.
And he's a scary dude.
Oh, he's real
You
scary.
don't want to fight this dude.
Wait. The guy that came out of the woods was just an unknown
Just
dude.
a random guy.
And then she came out.
Yeah, and like they were together, like they were all together that night. And she had left for a few minutes. We go in this back alley to sell some bud, and she's like walking out these bushes, pulling her pants up. And my buddy is like a 3-time state champ wrestler, like cage fighter, MMA fighter. Like he's a monster. Long story short, my buddy like took off chasing this guy, and like I've never seen somebody run so fast in my life.
Did he get away?
He got away for a few minutes, but my friend had caught him like a quarter mile down the street, and my buddy actually had some of my weed on him too, which is not good. And but he ended up like getting a hold of the guy, slamming him, beating him up for like 30 seconds, a minute or two, and then the cops came and arrested him. And then they found the weed that I had sold my friend in his pocket. Like,
Oh no! And
went bad.
They get you too?
No, they didn't get me.
Okay.
I was like on the sideline.
I don't know. You were out of there when the cops came.
Yeah, I was gone. Not good.
And that was y'all's first meeting experience?
That was our first
I love that. Were you best friends right after that?
No, we didn't reconnect until probably like 3 or 4 years later.
Yeah.
No, I kept trying to hit him up. I kept trying to hit his like friend up. But they were like, oh no, that dude's sketchy. Like they thought I was sketchy or something. So they wouldn't sell me any more weed. But, no, I went to like juvenile prison after that and then got out and moved to like the city. And then that's when we reconnected, and we didn't realize that that's how we met until like years later. Mm-hmm. We like put 2 and 2 together and was like, oh
That's
my God.
crazy.
Like, yeah.
What's the craziest story you guys have together?
God.
I don't know. It's hard to narrow it down. There's like
A lot.
hundreds. Yeah.
We went to like this place called Skatopia. I don't know if I told you. Have I told you this?
I feel like
Yeah,
I've heard of this.
Yeah.
Wait, go ahead.
We went to Skatopia, which Michael's like kind of like uncle owns it, and it's like this huge. It's like 88 acres in the middle of like the woods, and people come from like all over. Like 2,000-3,000 people will show up, and it's like a drug festival. And it also has like skate parks. Like there's just like random.
Is this the one with the fireworks?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And we were tripping, and Michael the night before found a bag of ketamine on the ground. So we were like done some ketamine, ate some shrooms, like we were super high. And this kid comes up, it's like 5 a.m, and we're like peaking. And this kid comes up and he's like, hey, do you guys got anything that like I could buy off of you? And we sold him like an eighth of shrooms. Mike's like, bro, don't eat all of that. Like you're going to end up like super high. Like just like take it a little bit at a time. He comes back like an hour later, like I ate all of those. Like I'm really fucked up. And he pulled a mortar firework out of his back pocket, like a big one like this. And the fuse was like this long. And Michael's like, don't light it, don't light it.
No,
and then
dude,
Cody,
yes.
his brother-in-law, puts his arm around him. And like literally the kid, and he had a white shirt on, right? The kid lit it and got to here. And his hand exploded in front of all of us. Like blood
Jesus,
splattered
dude.
head to toe on
There's
Cody.
pictures
like,
online.
Oh, yeah. You can
Bunch of
Google
them.
Skatopia hand blown off and you'll see some like.
Scotty.
Yeah, his name
Brutal.
was Scotty. We didn't know him, but like.
He became a legend after
he's a
that.
legend.
I mean,
Oh, they had a
shout out to Scotty. I wonder
hope
where
he
he is
sees this.
now.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
amazing.
We should have him
So
on
this
the
dude's
pod.
just and he's just tripping balls.
So like,
Dude, first time
And,
he'd
like,
ever
and you're
done
telling
it.
him not to do it, and the dude's just like he can't stop himself.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
he,
the craziest thing. Dude.
so I was like, don't light the firework. Like, let's just smoke. Let's just hang out. Like, don't do it. And he's like, all right. And he like turned his back to us, and that's when he had lit it.
was
and
like, "Yeah, right."
Yeah, and I'm like by my car, and I'm not only paying attention to him. And then he lights it. All you hear is like a loud boom, obviously. And then all of a sudden, the guy's running around in a circle, flapping his arm like in shock. And
And
then
he wasn't screaming at first.
He
either.
was silent. He was probably
But
just
then he
immediately
saw
in
what
shock.
happened.
Yeah.
Shit.
He pulled his hand up, and his hand was just like spread apart, completely like. I mean, it looked like a horror movie.
Yeah.
And so like everyone's freaking out. No one really knew what to do. And I'm like, we need a belt. Like we need like a tourniquet. You
So
know
I
what I mean?
ripped my belt off.
Yeah, and I walked.
just tied his arm?
Yeah,
I
I
couldn't.
I held his arm. I held it. Like, there's a picture. You could see my belt, and you could see me holding.
While
my hands.
you're tripping, were you
Oh,
guys
yeah, we're
sober at
tripping
this
nuts.
point? Like,
No,
were you
we're
like
tripping nuts.
So you're just holding a
Blood
stump, a
squirting
bloody
out.
stump. Oh
Like, every
my
time his
god!
heart
What
would
was
beat,
that? What
It
was
just
that like?
Scored out.
Yeah.
I don't know. Words
Is
can't
that
describe
embedded
it.
in your brain, just like
No, you
forever?
know what
like,
the worst part was? It went, after it happened, it went boom. Then there's like maybe 15 seconds of everybody's like, holy fuck. There's no noise. And then you just hear him like blood curdling screaming. Like it was.
And he's tripping balls.
Oh man!
Yeah.
Did he go
I
into
feel like
a
that
bad
probably
trip?
had to have
Yeah.
sobered him up a little bit.
He was white. He turned like gray white.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
Oh my god.
bad.
Oof,
Yeah,
Scotty.
He would, poor guy. He would have died with hands down if if we didn't time off and then like ambulance didn't get there. And like an ambulance or a cops had never been on the property. Like very rarely are they even allowed past the gates.
Yeah.
In that state, like they came all the way up into the park, and like people like are like hating the cops and like cussing at them and stuff.
It's like
and
a wild place.
It's a wild place.
It's known for
Like,
anarchy.
And they just let that though, like
What happened was the ambulance rolled up first, and then like 2 cop cars roll up, and then I'm not exaggerating, like 150 people swarmed them. They had to have been shook. I mean, it was like,
The ambulance and the cops.
yeah,
Oh yeah, scared to death.
yeah.
Cops are like, back up, let us out of here. It was crazy.
And you're talking about like how does West Virginia just allow
West
that?
Virginia is a different
Yeah, yeah.
land.
Yeah,
I
is.
guess
This is actually Ohio, but still.
Oh, Ohio's a different. Well,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
It's close though. It's close. Another time we went there, and I was asleep, but they lit a car on fire, which happens a lot there.
Allegedly.
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 A car got lit on fire. And our friend jumped on the car like after it had been burning for hours. And the hood was like so hot, and he didn't really. He was high. He wasn't thinking.
Yeah.
And the soles of his shoes melted, and he slid backwards and landed on his hands, and like completely like fried his hands.
Oh my god, dude.
Dude, it's a wild place. Honestly, they made a Netflix documentary about it.
What's the documentary
It's called Skatopia 88 Acres of Anarchy.
Yeah.
oh, I gotta watch that.
Yeah, it's wild.
And there's there's been a lot of big bands that go there and like have concerts. Like I've seen
Like
Guar
Slayer.
there, Slayer, like bunch of big concerts.
And like
going
Tony
there.
Hawk and Bam Margera, like they all go there.
Yeah.
And like skate and stuff.
Dope.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy now. I'm looking back at it. I'm like, I'm glad I made it out of there. And then I remember, was you there when the girl peed in the guy's face? Like that was
No.
pretty epic. And just randomly, like I'm like skating and like drunk and like tripping, and then I'm walking through the skate park and like some girls like just nonchalantly guys walking around. She's with her boyfriend and she's just peeing in dude's face. Like dude's like laying on the ground like yeah, like it's the best thing ever. Yeah, and her boyfriend, her husband's sitting there like yeah, it's cool. Like
Yeah,
piss
do
in his
it.
face. Yeah,
Yeah.
It was bad.
Wow, dude.
Yeah.
It was
That
nuts.
was the norm, probably.
Yeah. Oh,
People
yeah.
were just like, yeah, okay,
Yeah, this is back in like the Mohawk and the
yeah.
I mean, some people like to get peed on.
The dude that
Some
owns
people do
that
like to
place
get
was
peed
like
on.
one of the original like skateboarders. Bruce was like one of the original like back in the day, like in the 80s or whenever it started. He was like one of the first ones.
yeah, he's really good.
Yeah.
His son's really good too. Like they're all like known. Bruce has been all over. He used to ride with Tony Hawk and
Yeah.
travel the world. They were good.
That's cool.
I actually remember one time we were there partying, and he had gotten in an accident, and he was changing a tire, and the tire exploded, and it like blew. This is just Bruce is a legend, and the tire exploded on his head, and like he had to have surgery, and half his head got blew off, so like his brain was hanging out. Essentially.
Yeah, now he doesn't
And
have like half a skull, bro.
Yeah, and like so
a
he had a
wild-ass
bandage
dude.
on his head. Like there's like a band-aid, like literally just a band-aid covering up his brain. And they were waiting to get like part of a skull to put on his head to like
Oh my God.
cover him back up. And he's like skating with a bandage over his head. I'm like, he like got out of the hospital, and instead of like being on bed rest like he's supposed to be, he's like drinking alcohol and like skating the skate park. Like if he would have fell and hit his head, he would have died.
Done.
Like
Yeah,
he'd have been done.
done.
Like I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, you only live once. I'm like, yeah, obviously. You know, you're cutting it pretty close, bub.
So, how'd you grow up, Michael?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know, man. What's it like growing up in West Virginia?
I guess it just depends on like where you grew up at and who you grew up around. Like for me, I grew up in like a lower end family. I grew up in like the worst neighborhood. Like I'm sure you guys have seen like the meme that you see on social media, like of like Lion and Sinbad, and like how they're like, oh, don't go in the dark area.
Everything over there.
Yeah, that area don't go there. So they made a meme about that in my hometown, and like the area they pointed out, that's where I lived at. Like they're like, don't go to the flashing light, don't go to 13th and Lynn. And I lived on 13th and Lynn up until like 4th grade, and then I moved from there like a block down the street on Lynn Street. You know, it was nothing to see like, you know, in elementary school to like walk outside and see like people on the porch like, you know, smoking crack or like selling drugs on the corner. Like literally like I wasn't allowed to go to the street corner because like that's where the guy like everyone hung out at and like sold rock, you know, all night long. So it was nothing. Like I remember being in getting ready to go into high school, like a 9th grader, transfer in the summertime, and like walking down the street, and like some dude was driving down the street, and he was like the local drug dealer in a convertible. And he's like, I guess I looked at him or something, and he like stopped his car, jumped out, beat me up. Like I'm like a kid, man. I'm 14 years old. You know what I mean? He jumped out. I'm with my like girlfriend. Like I didn't even like expose myself to a girl yet, you know. And he jumped out and thought I was like showing off to my old lady, and like beat me up, like hit me like 3 or 4 times. I ran away. It was a whole situation. So
Damn. Yeah. What was family like growing up?
So I had a good family. Like my mom's really loving, really good mom. She she worked at like a grocery store all my life, like 15 years. So she worked hard. My dad was an alcoholic when I was a kid, and they separated. And so my mom raised me, and then she ended up getting my stepdad, and they were together like I think 19, 20 years before he passed away. And so like I had support, and we just didn't have like income. So like I grew up poor, you know what I mean? And like obviously like I go to like a school with like 4,000 some kids, and like I wanted to fit in, and I wanted to be like the cool kid. I always had that feeling of like a need to do something to fit in. And like I feel like I was lacking something, you know. I don't know if that's because like I lost my dad at a young age, or if that's because I just didn't have money and support, and like didn't have nice clothes. The only time I really had nice clothes was like when vouchers came out, clothing vouchers, we get them once a year for school. And like, that's when like I would have like nice clothes, or like Christmas time, you know what I mean? My mom would do the best she could to like support me and my sister. So I'm not going to like project a picture like I didn't have what I needed. Like we had what we needed, we just didn't have what we wanted.
Right.
You know, like everyone else had nicer stuff than us. And I remember going into high school, and like, junior high, I was like a depressed kid, and I gained a bunch of weight. And then like my 8th grade year, I'm like, you know what, something's got to change. Like I want to have a girlfriend. Like I want to like fit in. I want to be cool. Like I want people to like me. And then that's when I started like working out and skateboarding, and I had lost like, I think I lost like 50 pounds or something like at my 9th grade year.
Damn.
And yeah, the principal was like, what are you doing? How are you losing so much weight? And I had like dedicated myself to like start on push-ups and sit-ups every night. So I did that. I did like 100 every night. My mom would be like, Michael, you need to go to bed. I'm like, I'm doing my push-ups, Mom. Like I'm getting a girlfriend next year. You know, like I wanted a girlfriend. And, you know, I got that. Like I remember my sophomore year, like the first week of school, we got out of school, and like, you know, at junior high, I couldn't really do a push-up, couldn't do a pull-up. And like my sophomore year, my first like week of school, I got climbed the flag or the football tee out front and did like 25 pull-ups. You know what I mean? Principal or the gym teacher yells at me like, Michael, get down. I'm like, all right, and took off running. But like, so I felt like I was fitting in, right? And I had started selling weed about this time, and I'm really good with numbers, like mathematically.
Were you smoking already, or did you just go straight into selling weed
Oh yeah,
first?
like I was definitely already smoking. Yeah, I started smoking like probably like I think I smoked my first time in like 6th grade, but like I really started smoking regularly in like junior high. I always hung out with like the older kids who were already in high school and stuff, and I just felt like it was the cool thing to do. You know what I mean? But then like, so I realized like I couldn't afford to smoke weed. Like that's obviously with weed came girls, and like I wanted a girlfriend. So I was like, you know what? I want to smoke weed. I want to be cool. And so how can I afford to smoke weed? Like when I don't have money. Right. So I decided to start selling it. And like I said, I'm pretty good with numbers. So I was a successful drug dealer, in a sense. Like I wasn't like, El Chapo or anything, but like for a kid from Lynn Street, it had nothing. Like
shit. Later on, you were killing it.
Yeah, I did pretty.
I remember there was days where you're like,
chill. We might get indicted.
$4,000 or $5,000.
He's like,
a day.
shit, I
Nah,
did pretty good.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Allegedly.
But that was different.
Yeah, maybe.
That was different drugs though. That was different than weed.
Yeah. So I remember like going to school. And the principal knew they never could catch me. I was always pretty slick and really fast runner. So like, I was in pretty good shape. So like the principal ever tried to catch me, I'll just take off running. But I remember like leaving school and, going to get like a quarter pound or half pound of weed and like coming back to school with weed on me and like selling to all of the young kids and stuff and all my little classmates. Like, and I always see kids out and they're like, oh, we went to school together. I'm like, we did? They're like, yeah, like, I don't remember you. Like, yeah, you used to sell me weed. I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember it, but I sold everyone in my school weed. And, that's how I made myself, who I was. That's how I got nice clothes. I bought my first car, my junior year and, by like towards the beginning of my senior year, middle of my senior year, before I got like on the pain pills, I had already bought another car. I had bought a street bike. I had a dirt bike. Like I was doing.
You had it all.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, you were doing well.
I had a girlfriend.
Yeah,
yeah.
Were
you
you
had all the
good.
things.
Yeah.
Were you in sports?
So I had played sports as a kid. Like I started boxing. I played football. But I had quit my junior high. I didn't play my ninth grade year, and I started boxing when I was like 12. I boxed for like, I don't know, 8 months or something like that. But I could only box. My mom told me like we didn't have money, and boxing cost like $40 a month. And my mom said if I wanted to box, I had to pay for it myself. So I started mowing grass when I was like 12, and I started in like April. At first I did like a little bit of garden work, flower beds, and then I started mowing grass. And I boxed just like through the summertime when I could make some money, to pay for it. And I did good at it, but I had a really good coach, and he was like right on the street from my house, and I enjoyed it. But then wintertime came, and like you can't mow grass in the winter, right? So I couldn't afford it. So then I stopped boxing, and that's around the time when I started like smoking weed. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna sell weed. And I never really went back to boxing until later on. And then like I remember being in high school, and I was like, I had lost all that weight and was in good shape, and I was skateboarding and listening to rock and roll, and thought I was all that in a bag of potato chips. And my buddy, he was like a wrestler and like big muscles and stuff, and I remember acting all tough to him because I was a street kid and got in like street fights. He's like, you should work out. He's like, it would probably help you like not be so angry all the time. And I'm like, all right. So I gave him some money because I always had cash on me, and he ordered me some protein powder, like some I think it was like testosterone boosters even, which is kind of crazy for a guy in high school. Testosterone boosters, protein, and something else like a multivitamin. And I had packed on like 25 pounds like my junior year and got kind of beefy, got in good shape, and I was doing pretty good. And then like beginning of my senior year, I started boxing again, but like I was kind of preoccupied with like the street life and, girls and partying. So like I was making a lot of money for a kid like in high school who didn't have bills. My mom's like, how are you making all this money? I had like a mini fridge in my house with a soda in the front and beer in the back. I had a Jack Daniels bottle in the freezer at all times. Like, but my mom never really like crossed the boundary with me. She knew we had that trust. She never really went in my room, didn't bother me. I had like a steel safe in my bedroom. With like a code in it and stuff. Like I had a bunch of jewelry. My mom's like, how you affording all this? I think she knew what I was doing, but I just didn't really like
She didn't want to press too much.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have listened.
No.
You wouldn't listen either way.
And so yeah, I just started hustling, I guess you could say, really.
Yeah.
And
How did you get addicted to heroin?
so that So along with weed, I started selling weed, like I said, and then in my senior year, people started bringing like pain pills to school, and I'm like, hustler mentality or like a dealer's mentality is if I can sell it, I can sell anything. So I started trading weed for pain pills. And I remember like I was getting the pain pills for so cheap, I could sell them for more. And then I'd have like X amount of extra pills. And I'm like, I could just try these. My buddy's like, let's snort some. And we started snorting, they're like 7.5s or Percocet 7.5s. And, it started there. And I remember doing them before school. And then the girls like thought that was awesome. Like, what's he doing over there? Like I'm selling weed to all these kids and like, they're all like smoking blunts and I'm like crushing up pills. And they're like, what's he doing? He's different. And that sparked my attention more. I'm like, yeah, I'm different. You know what I mean? Like you want that. Anyways, it changed from like me wanting to do it to be fun or have fun to me like kind of like almost needing it early on, Like I remember going and meeting one of my really good friends still to this day. And she had got her teeth pulled, and I had traded her some weed for the pills that she got. And she's like, Michael, are you taking all these? I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna take them. I can't find them nowhere else. She said, Michael, if you don't stop taking these pain pills, she's like, you're gonna be a heroin addict for 25. And I proved it wrong, man. I was strung out on heroin at like 18.
That's right.
Like 8 months later, I'm like straight heroin junkie.
Overachiever.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah. I'm real good. You know what I mean? So then like I remember like we couldn't find no regular pain pills. My buddy had called me and I had a good amount of money. You know what I mean?
Do you remember the moment where you were taking pain pills and there was like you crossed that line and then you needed them?
Yeah.
Can you remember when that happened?
Yeah.
What was that? Walk us through that.
So in my hometown, like it's kind of hard to narrow it down, like to pinpoint it exactly. Mm-hmm. But I remember one day it was like, I don't know, it had to be a weekend because it was morning time, 10, 11 in the morning. There was still like dew on the ground. I was sitting at a place called Quincy Park, and I was with like one of my best friends at the time being. And we had one Vike 5 or Vike 7.5, and we couldn't get no more. And we're like, we crushed it up in a cellophane. He's like, man, we can't get no more today. This is all we got. And I'm like, the feeling of like dissatisfaction, like just defeat. Like I was just like, man, like this is gonna be a shit day. You know what I mean? Like, and we crushed that pill up and did it. And I feel like that was the beginning of me like realizing like I had a problem.
You needed it.
I needed it.
Did you withdraw that day?
No, I don't think I did. I think more like if it was withdrawals, I feel like it was more like a mental thing, more like a
like irritation,
irritable. Like because I wanted to control things. I had a control problem. I wanted to be the person who always had what I wanted, and I didn't have that. And then
and when you started doing pain pills, did you think you could ever get strung out, or were you kind of like, nah, that'll never happen to me?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, dude, no way. Like I'm way too strong for that, And that's what I had told my friend when she mentioned me being a heroin addict. I'm like, dude, there's no way. Like, you know who I am. Like I work out every day. I'm in good shape. It's me.
Yeah.
And
I can do anything I want.
I can do anything. Like I grew up from nothing. You know what I mean?
Come
like
on, pills.
I got a car and a street bike. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it don't discriminate. It gets us all equally. You
That's
know what I mean?
right.
No matter if you grow up from nothing or if you're a doctor. You know what I mean? It takes us all down pretty quick. I remember we were sitting at so I ended up getting that night that we couldn't get no more Viking. We were at Quincy Park. My buddy that I was with, brother-in-law, called him and said he could get some Percocets, but they weren't regular ones. They were 30s or like Oxy 30s or Roxy's. And I'm like, he's like, the same thing. He's like, they're just a lot stronger. I'm like, well, let's go. Like, let's skip the BS. And we went and bought, I tried one. And when I walked in, like I usually just snorted them or took them. And he's like, here, try this. He's like, let's smoke them. He's like, you ever smoked them before? I said, no. Oof. He's like, here, try this. And he stuck foil in my face instantly. And I took a hit. And like the feeling of like the euphoric feeling in my body, like I was just like, wow, what I mean? Like mind blowing, like the best. And, that's the day I was like, I feel like that was the beginning of like, the tip of the iceberg, you know what I mean? Like before, obviously getting strung out on a needle was a lot worse, but at that point in my life was like, I just took a step, and I never, that point forward, like regular pain pills didn't affect me. I had to do 30s. I had to. Bought, they were $40 pills. I bought 10 that night, and then we went back like 3 hours later and bought like 5 more. You know what I mean? And the guy loved me, like obviously, he's like, of course, like no one in my town had that kind of money, especially dudes paying that. You know what I mean? And I tried one and I'm like, yeah, how many you got? He's like, I got a few. I'm like, let me get 10. He's like, really? I'm like, yeah, I need 10. Yeah. And then I bought 10, and then it was like midnight or something. We called him, went back out there and bought 5 more. And like, it was like an everyday occurrence. Right. So like the money that I had built up and all that stuff I had built up slowly started like depreciating. And, it's like, this was like the middle of my senior year, towards the end of my senior year, I had already like basically got rid of like all the extra stuff I had because I made like basically like excuses for it. Like I didn't really need this, so I had sold my dirt bike first because I didn't really ride a dirt bike, right? Who rides a dirt bike? I didn't need that. I rode like once a month, and then I had, let's see, what was it? I sold my street bike about 6 months later, or less than that, probably 3 months later, and then I had got rid of one of my cars, and it just like it was excuse after excuse. Like I didn't need this. I don't really use this. Let's just get high tonight. I'll buy more later. I'll get more jewelry. I started selling my jewelry, and all the money I had saved up was getting disappearing and getting sold. And and then one time I remember I was with my girlfriend, and we were all like addicted to these things because I wanted everyone to like me, and I wanted to be cool, and I wanted to like fit in. So I didn't just get high myself. Like I was overachiever. Like I got high with every single person I was around. Like, oh, you've never did pain pills? Let me show you something. You know what I mean? I wanted it to be that guy. I didn't really realize what I was doing. I didn't realize I was like destroying people's lives and potentially could be killing people.
Right.
I just thought I was being cool. You know what I mean? Very selfish and self-centered.
You skipped a part though.
Which part?
The K2.
Oh yeah, I did skip that part.
Yeah.
What's the K2? What's the K2?
Oh man, that was my moneymaker. That's like
and before that though.
Yeah, when we getting strung out, K2.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like my junior year, I'll backtrack a little bit. My old lady who I like was in love with was on probation, and she couldn't smoke weed because she failed a drug test or something, and for skipping school for truancy actually. And so she's like, we got to smoke K2. And I'm like, all right.
K2 is that designer weed,
Yeah.
right?
It's like the shit you get at the gas station.
Yeah,
and
the
stuff.
synthetic stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. So
It's
that
like the
goofy
most
stuff.
addicting substance on the face of the earth though.
Is it?
I swear.
pff,
It's
by
bad.
far.
It doesn't feel like weed though, does it?
No, it feels
It's
awful.
fucking
Yeah,
weird.
it's
as
closer to
shit.
heroin, really. I mean, it's. I mean,
Well, you'll hallucinate off of it.
Yeah.
You'll hallucinate. You'll be nodding out and wake up hallucinating.
When you say that was your moneymaker, you were slinging a bunch of K2.
All right, so I got on it. Like,
We
so
both were.
Yeah, so I started. I got strung out on it really bad in like my junior year, but I just looked at it like weed. You know, I never really looked at it like I was strung out on it. I just knew that like I needed it. I needed to smoke 24/7. And this was actually beginning of my junior year, or middle of my junior and the beginning of my senior year. But I didn't really look at it like an addiction. I just looked at it like we were smoking. I was selling weed and buying K2, right? So like my car that I had bought, I had wrecked it like 2 times. I had a nice car for a kid from where I was from. I had wrecked it 2 times. Let's see, I had started withdrawing, having like real withdrawal symptoms. Like I couldn't like
From
sleep.
K2?
Oh, bad.
Oh, dude.
I mean,
you'd
like,
be
really?
shitting your pants and puking for days.
No.
literally.
Swear.
That's your vibe.
I remember.
Hunty.
Yeah. I remember walking down
For
the street.
sure, that's Hunter's vibe.
That's the bird flu vibe.
Yeah, literally. I remember,
So was K2 popular in West Virginia?
oh, it was popular all over the world.
Yeah, I feel like it
point.
was. I never got into K2, but
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of stories.
It's still popular, like in the UK. It's a big problem, and in the prison systems in America
Oh, yeah.
and in the UK.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
huge.
Wow.
Because you can spray it, like they'll spray it on a piece of paper, and it's so potent that they'll just like roll up pieces of the paper and smoke it and get lit. So one sheet of paper can get you high
you
for a long
fucking
time.
lit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
long time.
And was it? Is it kind of like an opioid?
It's
No, it's a synthetic
Cannabinoid?
kind of, but it's just like it's the same thing as like bath salts.
I
or
was
like
just about to say, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Interesting.
It's just, whenever they first get it, it's a crystal.
Yeah, I feel like when it came out here in California, like we heard about it. I remember people were doing K2, and then it was like, we don't touch that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you guys
like-
you can go get real weed at the.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It was. I remember when I realized I had a problem with that. I was skipping school and I was going to get put on truancy. And I remember meeting this guy that I like considered like an uncle. I still consider him like an uncle today. And I had left my house. My old lady at the time being, God rest her soul, she's passed away. But she couldn't get out of bed. We didn't have none for a couple of days. And we were puking constantly. We had like trash cans beside my bed because we were trying to quit, filled with puke, filled, I mean, way worse than I've ever withdrawn off heroin, way worse than I've ever experienced anything.
That's crazy. To me.
Yeah, it was like 4 in the afternoon, and I had left my house, which is in the ghetto, and I had like barely was able to walk. Like I was holding my stomach, and I had to walk like 2 blocks from my house down Lynn Street. And I had met the guy that was selling me it, which is like basically like family to me. And I think I only had a little bit of money, and he like fronted me the rest. And he's like, Michael, he's like, you're bad. He's like, I'm not selling you no more. He's like, you need help. He's like, you need to really quit. He's like, this is the last bit. And I'm like, all right. That's when I realized, like, okay, like I'm bad. Like I need help. If my dealer's telling me like I need
When
help.
your dealer's telling you you're down bad, you're down bad.
Down real bad. And
you're down bad.
You know, I thought I was like, I guess someone said when you think you're looking good, you're really looking bad. And I thought I was looking good, but really like I was like, I mean, I look like a homeless person basically. No offense to them, but that's where I was at. You know what I mean? And I was just now a senior in high school. So then I got clean off of it. My old lady kept smoking, and I told her I couldn't be with her, so we ended up separating because of this stuff. But then the guy that I consider family is like, hey, he's like, if you want, I'll put you on and I'll start selling it to you since you know all these people. And he's like, I was paying like $20 a gram. And he's like, I'll sell it to you for like $3 a gram.
No
and I'm like, yeah. And I'm selling, and I was selling everybody else for like 25, you know what I mean? So now I'm like, listen, guys, prices because you got dropped. I was like, I'm gonna start hooking you guys up. I forget what I was selling to him. Maybe like 25 for three, 25 grams for $25 for 3 grams. And I was paying like $5 for that. Right. And I'm selling like 200-300 grams a day. Like, I mean, I couldn't keep, that's how I got the safe and all this and the nice stuff. And I basically just stopped selling regular weed and went straight to that. Because the demand for it was so high. Like it was like the addiction was like close to crack, right? Like I remember people like literally would like trade their souls for it. I mean, it was worse than you would ever see like with crack. And I remember throwing a party at this guy's house one time, and his mom was a nurse, an overnight nurse. And he's like, he was strung out real bad. And I'm like, listen, I want to throw a party at your house, cake party. And he's like, yeah, that's fine. As long as everyone's out by 6 a.m. My mom comes home. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. And we're throwing out, I throw a huge party at his house. Like, you know what I mean? On 150 people probably show up at this trailer. Like, it's like a double wide, but like 150 people show up. And we have a big bonfire in his front yard, and we burn the side of his house. Like the siding melts down. It was so crazy. And he's like, my mom's going to trip. He's like, you guys got to get out. I said, you want us to leave right now? He said, yeah. I was like, you're cut off then. And this is like literally mid party. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was so crazy. Like Jump Street, you know what I mean? I'm like, I was like, all right, then, you know, you're cut off. And he's like, you know what? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about the side. He's like, keep partying, do your thing. He's like, we'll talk about it tomorrow. Like literally, like all because I said I was cutting him off. He let us keep partying.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It was bad.
People like lose their minds on K2, right? And like never return.
I
right?
got addicted to it because I was on juvenile parole and I didn't want to go back.
Because it doesn't show up. Does it show up in a drug test these days? I remember it, back in the day it did it, and that's why a lot of people started doing it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. That's why I started doing it. Because I had been on since I was 12 and I was like 18. And I was like, well, I don't want to go back to like jail. So I started smoking it, and that's actually how we met. We reconnected through it. Yeah.
I remember, and Hunter was a heck of a K2 seller, allegedly. He did really good for me. But he made a lot of money off of it too, because I gave him a good deal, because I liked Hunter, right?
Bringing me like legit like grocery bags full of like grams and grams of it like every day.
Yeah. I remember my buddy had a really good job. He made like $50 an hour. He cleaned air ducts out of town, and he'd bring home like huge paychecks, couple $1,000s on a 4-day. And he's like, he come home and he's like, I'm gonna get a new phone today. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. And I had been partying. I didn't have the money. I'm like, I'm gonna buy one today too. He's like, how are you gonna do that? You don't have the money. I'm like, oh, I'll have money by the end of the day. And that was like a Thursday. I think that day I bought a new cell phone, and then that Monday I bought a new car. So I made like $15,000 in 3 days or something crazy.
Wow.
The car was only like $7,000, but I mean, still, you know, I mean, that's a
lot of money.
Yeah, for a kid that had nothing, you know.
For sure.
I remember we threw a party for 45 days straight at a hotel.
No way.
Yeah, just stupid, you know what I mean?
Straight moved in.
Yeah, I moved into a hotel party. And it got to the point, like I would throw parties. I would go rent hotels when I was selling the K2. I'd go rent hotels and we'd throw huge parties, and I would just leave. I mean, because it's like, I don't know, it gets old, you know what I mean? Like 20, 30 days in, it's just like, all right, guys.
You remember that? You remember that time?
Wrap it up.
You remember that time we rented that cabin out there? Where was that?
Yeah, that was at Mountwood Park.
At Mountwood.
That was my 21st birthday.
Dude, like literally like a ridiculous amount of people showed up. And when we rented it, they're like, oh, only this amount of people can come, this and that. And there was a cabin attached to it. So there were people like staying right beside. Like literally like well over 100 people showed up. And it was so loud, and the police showed up, and this is the middle of nowhere, and everybody just scattered into the woods, and it was raining. And I remember I got stuck on the side of like the freeway in the mud and couldn't get back up, like in the bushes, bro. Like wild.
Yeah. It was crazy times. I guess it don't matter now because it's been like 10 years, but I actually was dating like my the girl that I loved at the time being was in lockup. She was in jail, and she had got out that day and had called me. But I was at the party, like it was a huge party, and like I'm already like strung out, doing pain pills, and like I don't know if it was my 21st birthday or it might have been younger than that because I don't think we were doing heroin yet.
No, I think it was your 21st.
Was it 21st?
Yeah.
Then maybe we had been already doing it then because that's why Raven went to jail was because of 30s.
Yeah.
So we were already getting high on like dope and stuff at the time being, and so there was like 150 people there. I had brought I was a dog. Okay, I was not a good guy, and especially with girls. Like my only problem, and I feel like in life, other than drugs or females, no offense.
No, I was just about to ask you because you said, "Oh, the girl that I loved," like implying that there's like all these other girls. So I was just about to ask you. I'm glad you segued
I'm
into
working.
that. Yeah,
I'm getting better. I'm not perfect. Cut that.
I'm working.
But so my girlfriend or my girl that I loved was in jail, and then I had another girl that loved me. And she was at this
That's
party.
how it goes.
Yeah. And she like bought me like some like awesome. She bought me like a new skateboard because I always skated. She bought me a new skateboard and like some cologne and stuff. And we hung out that day. And then the girl I loved called me and she's like, "Hey, I just got out." She's like, "I'm on the way home." And I'm like, "This party's already started." My new side girl or whatever you want to call her is here. Like there's like 100 people here already. We're already drinking. And I'm like, "But I love this girl, right?" So I'm like, "You're out?" She's like, "Yeah, I'm on the way home." She's like, "I want to see you." And I'm like, "All right, bet, I'm leaving." She's like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm at this party, my birthday. I'm on the way." So I leave my party and go pick up my girl that I love. And she comes and I'm like, come to the party, right? So I bring the girl I love back to my party and the side girl's there and we pull in my souped up car. Like, that's the only thing I had left.
Oh, and she called the cops, didn't she?
She's the one who called the cops.
That's who called the cops.
Oh, yeah.
No.
So I pull in with the new girl, like I guess main girl, my girlfriend, the girl
Did she
I loved.
know about the girl that you loved or not? Were you keeping them separate?
She knew, like everyone. I was with her. I was with the girl that I loved for like 3 years. 2 years.
So she knew.
Yeah. But she also knew she was in jail, right? And then I guess
This was her time to swoop in.
Yeah, it was her time to shine, right?
Yeah.
Like, she's like, he's mine,
And then Raven got out.
Yeah. Damn. Yeah, Raven got out. You got her name right. And I pulled in there, and the other girl looked in the passenger seat. I think she already knew. I think someone told her what we were doing, and so we pulled in there. She was walking out the party crying, and we were pulling in, and like we were there for like 30, 45 minutes hanging out, and the cops show up, and I was like, oh man, like I'm going to jail. So they go in the back door, and I'm like, I have like a couple ounces of weed on me. I had some pain pills on me, some 30s, and I got to hide these, right? So I go in the hotel. It's like a 1-room cabin. I go in the cabin, like the cops, they're like trying to get everyone to calm down. I just nonchalantly walk in the back room and like, it's not a big deal. I'm just hanging out. Walk in there. I hide my weed under the bed, and I hide my pillows under the bed like it's a box spring, and I'm in there for a few minutes with the girl that I love because I thought I was going to prison, And then I walk out and he's like, whose party is this? And I'm like, it's mine, I was like, I'll take the rap for everybody here. It's my fault. I bought the alcohol. And I got like 5 delinquencies to a minor that night. And I was 21. So like 5 delinquencies to a minor. I pled to 1, but that's still on my record. I'm trying to get that expunged. If you guys can give me a shout out. So I got like 5 delinquencies to a minor, pled to 1 that night. And, bunch of people got underage consumptions.
So did they arrest you that night, or
no? They just ticketed me. And then they
got it.
told everyone to go home.
No, you never really got arrested until way later.
Yeah,
properly.
Yeah.
So, what do you think the darkest moment of your life was?
Man, the darkest moment of my life, probably. Like there was some sick moments. I was a sick individual. My early 20s got really bad. I had lost my stepdad in 2014, right around the time that I was getting ready to turn. Let's see. Right when I turned 21, he passed away 2 months before I turned 21. So that's the time that I started getting bad off. I had did IV heroin for the first time right after he passed away. And then after that, it was bad. My mom couldn't afford the rent. We lost the house we lived in. She moved out in the country. I decided to be homeless and stay at my friends' houses, just wherever I could. I would say the darkest moment though was probably like right around the time I got arrested. I was hanging out in like a trap house or like a house with a bunch of old grown men. I was like 23. They're all like 35, 40. Everyone's been to prison in there but me. Like a bunch of tattoos, face tats. No offense to that, but you know what I mean? Like the typical prison guy.
Vibes.
Yeah, the vibes, you know. And then you got me, like this little kid that's like, you know, you tell me to go steal something, I'm gonna go steal it. You tell me to go do something, I'm like, I'm gonna do whatever you want me to do. And you know, I remember like hitting it was a good day for like a strung out version of me. Like there's no more K2 right now. There's no more money. There's no more cars. Everything is gone, right? I'm like, I'm homeless. I'm going to the Planet Fitness to shower. My grandma bought me a membership there. I'm eating out of like, you know, like food banks, and I'm going to like wherever I can to eat, you know, maybe my friends' houses, eat once a day. But when you're high on drugs, you really don't eat much anyway. So that wasn't really a problem. But this was a good day for me. I had like some weed in my pocket. I had some cigarettes. I had a couple grams of heroin, a couple grams of crystal meth, and some money. So it was a good day, you know, for where I was at in life. And I got high and something struck me, like, I don't know, like just like a ton of bricks hit my chest, and I was miserable. You know what I mean? Even though I had everything that the typical drug addict wanted, I was miserable. And like I hit my knees in front of these guys and started crying and like started praying out loud, oh my God, save me, like get me out of this life. Like I don't want to be strung out no more. And the guy's house I was at was like, get up. He's like, quit acting like that. He's like, let's get high, calm down. I just stole some steaks from Kroger's. Like, let's eat these steaks. I'm like, I'm just sick of living like this. Like, you know what I mean? You ain't even got running water here. And he's like, get up. So I ended up getting up, wipe my tears away. We got high, and you know, less than 24 hours later, I was arrested as a result of a fight with someone that was trying to rob me. It was a friend of mine, but he was as sick as I was. You know, we got in a fight, and that led to him losing his life. So I was arrested within 24 hours of the moment that I prayed for God to save my life for murder, which I didn't know that had happened. And, you know, that was probably the darkest moment of my life, because I thought that never was I going to get a chance to, you know, to see life again. Like, because I knew that wasn't really me. Never really was a bad person. I just went down some bad pathways, you know. I did a lot of good, I felt like, as a kid, like, aside from like getting introduced people to drugs. But like, aside from that, I was still a good kid. Like, my manners were good. Everyone's parents loved me. I had good morals. I just had, like, I guess you could say, like, bad values. I didn't really know what to do. You know what I mean? I had no real guidance. My stepdad tried to be there. My dad was never really there. Nothing against him. Like, he tried, but we didn't really have the support, you know what I mean, that I probably needed. So that was probably the darkest place that I was ever at.
Can you walk us through that moment where you realized and found out that he had died?
So I didn't know that he died. Like, so after it happened, I helped him to a vehicle and had someone take him to the hospital. They come back and said he was fine. They said that everything was all right. Everything was gonna be okay. No big deal, you know. So I'm like, now I'm relieved. Like, I'm not happy, but I'm like, a big pressure's off my chest. Like, everything's gonna be okay, right? So then, like, about 20 minutes later, like 5-10 cop cars pull up outside, and I'm like, okay, time to go. Like, so I take off running, and I had ran like, I don't know, quarter mile from the house and stop, and I go into a gas station, get some cigarettes. I'm talking to a friend, and long story short, I had blood on me. And the cops pull up, surround me, draw out guns. They say, is your name Michael Brown? And I'm like, no, my name's Jeff. Like, my middle name's Jeff. And they're like, well, Michael, like, we know it's you, and you're arrested for murder. And I'm like, what? And that's when, like, the realization set in. Even though I was high, like, I had quickly came down, like, oh crap, right? So they took me down to, like, the police station. And my uncle was the lead detective in my county, right? And yeah, my mom's brother. And I'm getting processed in, and he walks in the back door. And which I was always in trouble, like, but like shoplifting charges and like, you know
nothing
what I mean?
like this.
No, possession, you know what I mean? Like misdemeanor possession, never like a felony. And he walked in, he's like, what'd you do this time, Michael? And I just kind of shook my head, and he walked over and looked at my paperwork, because I'm like, they're going to take my mugshot. And he just kind of was speechless, and he looked up like he's seen a ghost, and he's like, oh my gosh. He's like, what do you mean tell your mom? And I was like, just tell her I love her. Like, cause in my mind, I might not ever get out. You know what I mean? I don't know. I seen my paperwork said, my sentencing said life with possibility. So like, I was facing a life sentence with the possibility that I might see daylight again outside of a prison fence. And I fought that for about 15 months, wondering if I was ever going to get a chance to come home. They offered me a plea bargain. About a year in, they said that they would offer me 30 years. I'd do 30 years and could get out. And in my mind, like I knew like what had happened. I knew like it was self-defense, like not taking any thing away from the situation. Like what I did was completely wrong, and it was completely not a good thing for anyone to do, no matter what, defending themselves or not. But like I knew in my heart that, you know what I mean, I didn't mean to hurt them. Mm-hmm. I knew that it was an accident, and I knew that I was just trying to protect myself, right? So they offered me 30 years, and I was like, I can't do that, you know? Yeah. So I went to trial, and the forensic...
So you decided to fight it?
Yeah, I was like, I'm going to fight it. And I had so I come, like I said, I'm poor family, no court-appointed lawyer, wow. No support, no guidance.
Wow. You against the system.
Yeah, literally. You know, they say it's 13 and a half, so I have 12 jurors, 1 judge, and a half-assed chance of getting out.
Right.
So that's what my situation basically.
And you lived that way for 15 months while you were on the inside.
Yeah. And then I went to trial, and the day before trial actually was a Sunday, and up to that point, like there was false statements put against me, and up to that day, Sunday, the day before trial,
what were the false statements?
That like it was a malicious situation, and that I
you attacked the dude.
I attacked the guy.
You meant to do it.
Yeah, all these adults in this house said that, right? They're like, oh, it was maliciously. He did it out of malice. Right. The day before trial, though, the guy's daughter, who actually saw the situation take place and saw me get attacked and like seen me like yell for help, like I'm like crying, like yelling. There's like 10 grown men standing around, and I think they all knew if he could beat me up, he would take my stuff. And instead of them helping me, they just let him beat me up for like a minute or two, right? And I'm like crying for help, and no one would jump in and stop him. And the dude's daughter's like even saying, stop him, stop. And no one would do it. Well, the day before trial, it came out that she had contacted the prosecutor and said, you know, I'm going to be honest. My dad lied. Everything he said was not factual. Michael was being attacked, and I'll testify to it. So like now I have someone on my side, so at least someone telling the truth, right? So they offered me a plea. It was literally like a book, like it could be a movie.
Right.
My court appointed lawyer, who's like, if you know anything about court-appointed lawyers, they're usually bums. Like, no offense, but they're like,
some of them are really good.
Care. Yeah, well, mine was fine.
Occasionally.
Yeah,
on a very rare occasion.
Yours really cared, though.
Yeah, mine cared. I think mine knew my situation, and he felt like my remorse, and he knew like I was a good kid, you know. And he came to the jail at like 9. Like he got the phone call at like 8 p.m. on a Sunday night, and came to my jail, which is like an hour and a half away from my city. At least an hour, and came to the jail at like 9:30 p.m. on a Sunday night, and was like, listen, he's like, we got court tomorrow morning. He's like, but you're going to beat this. He's like, we got factual statements saying that, you know, you were defending yourself. He's like, the forensic scientist proved you were on the ground. He's like, the odds are in your favor. He's like, you're going to win.
But in West Virginia, there's no self-defense.
Correct.
Really?
Yeah. What do you mean there's no self-defense?
It's in West Virginia,
like
of all freaking places? You're kidding.
Yeah. In Ohio, there is. But West Virginia, which is like 10 minutes away.
So as a defense, self-defense doesn't check out.
No.
Ever?
It's called...
All right, so then what did you win on?
I got a non-violent... they offered me a plea. I could plead a manslaughter, a non-violent manslaughter charge.
Okay.
And I would still get sent to prison, but I would do 3 years to 15. And I'm like, no, like I didn't do that. Like I want less than that. Yeah. I want to go home today. Right.
Oh my God.
So,
bold, dude.
Yeah. Very bold. I'm like,
bold.
You know, I want to go home today. And so, you know, we pick jurors, and they do opening statements with it. That night I go back home.
Were you a part of that process of picking the jurors?
No, I couldn't say anything.
Your attorney did?
My attorney did. He didn't get to pick, but he's just like, we question them, and then their response, we could like say we don't want them, or say that we did, you know. And then the prosecutor could do the same thing. So I go back to jail that night, and I'm talking to my buddy who's like the pod preacher. We had like Bible study and like, you know, praise and worship and stuff like that. And he's like, he had court that day too. And he had a really good lawyer. He had the best lawyer in town, and he was fighting a 1 to 5 or a 2 to 10, I think it was 2 years to 10 years. Mm-hmm. And they offered him a 1 to 5, do 1, have a chance of getting out, do 5, you're going home. And they said he will give you a 1 to 5, and you can go home today. You know, time served. And he's like, no, I don't want a felony on my record. He's like, you know, we'll go to trial. And they end up. Maybe that was his sentencing was that day actually, and they had sentenced him to. They gave him habitual felony, or excuse me, a habitual charge, and they gave him a life sentence. on a 1 to 5. And
It's a 3-strike rule there.
3-strike
Yeah.
rule. And he said that he asked his lawyer, who's the best lawyer. He's like, you know, what happens? You got to understand what happened. How did I get life sentence when they were offering me a 1 to 5? And he's like, you said you were waiting for an answer. He's like, you've probably heard this analogy. He's like, it's kind of like the guy who's on the roof and there's a flood that comes in. You know what I mean? You're praying to God, God save me. And then, a guy shows up on a boat. Hey, you want to ride? The water's rising. Let me save you. No, I'm good. I'll wait on God. Right. Yeah, and then the helicopter shows up with a ladder. Hey, come on, let's go. I'm going to save you. No, I'm waiting on God. And then the water rises and you drown. Right. Then you get to heaven. Like, Jesus, why didn't you save me? Well, I sent you 2 answers, 2 answers to your problem and you didn't take the answer. And he told me that. Preacher guy told me that. He's like, they gave me a life sentence. And he's like, my lawyer told me this. So I indirectly felt like that was God talking to him to tell me, take it, right? Take it. So I go back to court the next day, and this is the second day of trial, and they offered me another plea, and the plea was the same nonviolent charge, 3 to 15, and the courts would argue, or the prosecutor would argue, that I get a 10 flat at sentencing, which would have been 2 years. And I had like 15 months in. And I'm like, 2 years, I got 15 months in. I was like, that's not bad. I could do 8 months. I did a year and a half almost. It's cool. I could do that. And I took the plea. And also I went back and prayed. And I was like, okay, this is like, you got your boat. Now you got your helicopter, Michael. Like, get before you drown, right? So, and I'm still fighting 40 years at this time. I'm fighting a murder charge. And so I took the plea. I did 5 years incarcerated. And, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. It saved my life. Definitely, hands down. Made me who I am today.
Right.
Have you always had a relationship with God, like always growing up, or did you find that somewhere along the lines?
So I actually talked about it in another situation today. I knew who God was, but I didn't really know like the relationship or how to like build that, right? So like I only called on God like when I was like in need. I remember being like having alcohol poisoning at a party one time and like praying like, God, please help me. I don't want to die.
Foxhole
like,
prayers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Foxhole prayers. Like that's the relationship I had, right? Or getting pulled over and having drugs with me. I'm like, God, please don't let them find them. Like I don't want to go to jail. And that's the kind of situation I had with God, right? So then but when I got incarcerated, I built a relationship with him like a father son, right? So I call upon him upon anything. I talk to him regularly. And like the crazy thing was like I had prayed while being incarcerated. Obviously being selfish and self-centered, I still prayed for myself, but I did a lot of prayers for other people too. And I seen those prayers get answered more so than the ones I prayed for myself. Like I would pray for my mom. I remember I had caught my charge in my mom's church parking lot. And my mom said that she couldn't go to church anymore because she had like associated a resentment basically with that church. When she pulled in the parking lot, she'd start crying, knowing like that's the reason why I was in jail. So she stopped going to church. So I prayed while being incarcerated, like, let my mom get back in church, please God, like open up a door for her. And I remember calling her one time, and I'd already made it to prison. I remember calling her and she's like, Michael, you never guess what happened. I'm like, what, Mom? And she's like, I got asked to go to church this Sunday. And she's like, and I went. I'm like, you went? She's like, yeah. She's like, it was so good. It's the best time ever. And to this day, my mom still goes to that same church.
It's a great church.
It's so good. Like she loves it. She started like, her letters after she like stopped going to church was kind of like depressing, and she was not like my mom, right? And then after she got going to that church, she started sending me letters, and she'd put scripture in there, and she'd draw flowers, and she'd, like regularly, like I could feel like the power of God inside of her, coming back, and like that's a huge prayer that I got answered. I remember also another prayer that was answered that was huge. This is one of my own prayers. I had got a bunch of tattoos while in prison, and you can't get switched from prison to prison if you have tattoos. And I had sent out a letter to get transferred to a prison closer to my house so I could get visits, because I had been incarcerated about a year and didn't have no visits with my family. And I had prayed like, let me get out of here, this and that. And they accepted me to go to this new prison. They're like, but you got to go get your tattoos checked. And I'm like, oh man, my arm was still bleeding. Like I had just got tattooed like the 3 days prior, like scabbed up. I'm like, there's no way I'm getting out. And the guy was like a strickler. And so that morning, like I had skated by not going and seeing him all day. And I was leaving the next morning at like 8 a.m. So they're like, you got to go see the tattoo guy at 6. And I'm like, all right. So I stay up all night panicking, frantic, wondering if I might have to get out or not. And, the next morning I wake up, like, Michael, go to the ID office, get your tattoos checked. I walk down there and, knowing I'm not going to get out. And I'm like, I'm here to see Officer Pingley. That was his name. they said, Pingley's not here today. I'm like, well, where's he at? Like, oh, he had court today. He had to take someone to court. He's not here. I said, well, I got to get my tattoos checked. And this guy, he like didn't care about his job, didn't care about anything. He's like, I'll look at him. Walks over and looks at my arm. My arm's still bleeding. Like, not bleeding, like scabbed up. He's like, looks kind of new. I said, no, sir, that's from the streets. I was like, I got that when I was out. He's like, you're good. I don't care anyways. Walked away, signed my paper. I got left that day, like an hour later. I'm like, huge prayer
And
answer.
literally went
showed
from
up.
like the worst prison in West Virginia to like one of the best.
Yeah, easily. Like
Because of that moment.
I'm like hyper fixated on working out, and like I would get like 30 to 45 minutes working out at that prison. And it's like Hunter said, it's like the worst prison in the state. Like gangs, like every day it was like people putting on like not Kevlar, but like cargo jackets and stuff because everyone's carrying knives. Like you knew when like a war was gonna break out, and I wasn't affiliated with no one, so I would like sit right in the middle and like just like play cards, and like everyone's getting ready to stab each other. Like, you know, it's just it was a terrible place. And luckily, I went from that environment through answered prayers to like the most laid back facility in the state. Like I got like 8 hours of outside rec. Like,
Oh, wow.
I worked out constantly. You know what I mean? I built.
It came out huge.
huge. Yeah. still got my size. You know?
What do you think prison did for you? Like, how did it help you?
It allowed me to develop a new mindset, right? So, like, I remember when I first got incarcerated, this old man told me, he's like, Michael, there's two things you can do in here. He's like, you become a better person or you become a worse person. The choice is yours. And, you know, I took that in stride. Like, I was like, you know what? I knew, like, who I was and what I was capable of doing. And I also knew, like, what I did. I was all right. So I'm like, I can't allow this situation to be in vain. Like, I can't, like, allow myself to do something as hindrance as this and, like, not try to better myself, right? So moving forward, I was like, you know, every day I got to do something to make myself a better person. So I started reading books. I read books regularly. I worked out regularly. I read the Bible very frequently. I went to like Bible studies every day. And then once I got to prison, like I got enrolled in school. I took every program they offered, you know, and then I had a relationship with God, but I didn't really know what like substance abuse really had on my life, right? So like if drugs came around, I'd still get high. Like, you know, I did good. Like I remember like I had like 6-7 months clean and was doing good, and then like drugs would come and then I'd get high, or they would come and I would like not get high, then I'd have a bad day and I would get high. I remember actually I was clean when Hunter made the decision to go to treatment. I was in prison still at the rough prison, and I had called him and he was at an airport getting ready to go
You were
to
the
treatment.
last person I ever spoke to. Hi. Yeah.
And I was clean. And I'm like, listen, Dan, you can do it. Like, you know what I mean? I'm proud of you. You're going to do great. He's like, all right, I got to get off here. And we talked for a few minutes. He's like, I got to get off here. I'm like, all right, I love you, bro. I'm proud of you. And, you know, he's still clean to this day, man.
Look
Like,
at you guys now.
yeah.
Oh, besties.
Yeah, it came a long
Sober
way.
besties.
That's pretty cool.
I love that.
Yeah.
And then, so I remember like it was July 3rd, and I had called my girlfriend because, like I said, I have a problem with girls.
The girl you love or the girl you... Which one
A
was
complete
this?
different.
Whole new
Them
one.
girls moved on.
A new girl that he loved.
Yeah, a new girl that I loved. I was bad in jail too. I was a master manipulator, I guess you could say. I was bad about that. I think I just like the companionship, the relationship you could build with a female. Like, you know what I mean? I like feeling wanted, and I like feeling like, you know, valued, and like that love thing. It's just happy, you know. It makes you feel good. Appreciate
I
it.
can relate to that.
Yeah. So I called her and she's like, hey, I'm going to a party tonight with these guys, you know, a party at this guy's house and this and that. I was like, I don't want you to go. And she's like, I'm going to go. And I was like 7 months clean, like sober. I'm trying to do good. Like, I'm like, don't go. And she's like, I'm going and I'm getting off the phone. I'm like, all right. And earlier that day, someone had told me that they had got some Suboxone and, you know, they were going to get high, this and that. And, I was like, I'm good. And then when we got off that phone, like I got mad, slammed the phone down, instantly went back to my buddy's cut or like his bunk and was like, what's up, bro? Like, I want to get high. And I had bought some Suboxone that night and put it in my eye, snorted some, put the rest in my eye. Legend, you know?
Damn.
Yeah. And you know, instantly regretted it though. You know, I got that feeling of like satisfaction of knowing like she can do it, I can do it, but was instantly regretting it.
Did it fuck you up pretty bad?
Trashed me.
Yeah.
Scratched myself raw, and you know what I mean. We're not going to detail. Scratched myself raw, and you know what I mean. I was sweating, miserable. It's hot in there, like probably stinking. You know what I mean? Like just the whole night. I was trashed. You know. And the next morning I wake up. I was in a place called a dog program, so I was raised in like handicap assistance dogs for people who had like PTSD and like Down syndrome and stuff. And that's what taught me like humility, right? Like that's what taught me to like realize like Michael, like, just because you're Michael don't mean you're like the most important person in the world. Like lower yourself a little bit. And that helped me out a lot. And then, but I still like had a problem with my drugs, like overcome my self-esteem a little bit and my ego, but still had a problem with substances, right? So I woke up that morning, just sick, just defeated. I go outside, talk to my buddy, and I'm crying on a prison yard. You know, I'm like, I have this ego in there, not really ego, but like a persona, I guess you could say. And it's like this tough guy who used to box, who's like a strong weightlifter. You know what I mean? Like I had a good name. I was a big guy. And long story short, I'm crying. My buddy's like, "What's wrong?" And he said, he said, "What's wrong?" I said, "Man, I got high last night." He said, "Well, come over and talk to me." And I'm like, "All right." So we walked a lap and we sat down by this tree, and he's like, "I'm gonna pray with you." So he prayed for me to like get out of that situation, allow like God to remove my addiction and like for me to find a new pathway. And he said, "You got to seek help, bro. There's a program in here called RSAT. It's a drug program." And he said, "You got to come down here and do it, man. It's based off of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's 12-step base." He's like, "You got to try it. It could save your life." And you know, I went to that program and it did save my life. I took it serious. Went to my first real outside meeting while in prison.
They took you guys to outside meetings?
I wish they'd brought him to us.
Oh, okay. I was like, damn, they're going on little field meeting trips now. I love that. Okay.
It was good prison, but it wasn't that good of a
Yeah.
prison. But it was good, man. Like, you know, they brought a real guy in there from the streets who had some time. And I learned like what it's like or what it would look like, you know, attending a meeting. And I didn't know what that looked like. But that's when I started building that relationship with God. Like, I took the things away that was blocking me off from him, right? So I already had a relationship with him, but like I built a strong relationship. I removed like the baggage from my life through that program. And then that's when like that strong relationship got built. That's when like I learned about sobriety and I learned about like who Michael was, right? And, you know, to this day, I'm still maintaining, man. Like I'm still staying on the straight and narrow pathway. I'm still have my sobriety. I still have my mindset, and I still have a very strong relationship with God. You know,
What was your first week out of prison like?
oh, crazy. So, have you guys ever saw Shawshank Redemption?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's real. Like that's real life stuff, right? So like, I got out of prison at like 10 a.m. on a Tuesday. I went home and spent time with my mom, and my friends came over. I was real paranoid, real freaked out because I had like 4 or 5 friends there. My mom was trying to bring over my whole family. We had a little cookout. But 24 hours after getting out, I was moving to Florida. Actually, I moved in with Hunter and his parents down in Florida. So like, you know, 5 years incarcerated. Like I never gotten really a car ride unless I was going to court in 5 years or moving from prison to prison. But I never really like rode in a car or like hung out. Like I didn't experience that, obviously.
And you've never been on a plane either?
Never been on a plane. So 24, I got out at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday. I think it was 9 a.m. on Wednesday. I flew out of Columbus to Florida by myself. Right. So like I didn't know, like, dude, like car ride scared me. And then I get on this plane and like everything I own's in a trash bag, right? Everything I own was in one trash bag. And I got my little trash bag with me and I get on this plane and I'm like freaking out. Everyone's staring at me. I walk through the checkout, like TSA, and like I'm all tatted out and jacked. Like, you know what I mean? They asked for my ID. I show them a prison ID. Like it was just completely uncomfortable. The cop's like, "Come with me, sir." Like, I'm like, he passed me down. Like, you know what I mean? Like the whole nine. It was very uncomfortable. And then, so I finally get to the plane ride. I pray the whole time, get to the plane ride, meet up with Hunter. Hunter's in this little sporty car, like we're driving down.
Were you sober? So you were sober at this time?
Yeah. This was like, how long ago was this?
This is 2021.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we had like 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he had like this nice souped up car, and I get off the plane. He's like, "Come on!" Like, we get on like I think it was Interstate 4 or Highway 4 in Florida, which is like super busy highway. And he's like weaving out of traffic. Actually, backtrack. We actually went, and first thing we did, we went to the Hard Rock Cafe, and me, I got on a gambling machine and spent like $20. I'm like, okay, this is not for me. And then he's like, "Come in here, let's go in here and eat." And we went in like this super nice restaurant, and I ate the best steak I probably ever had in my life. I cut it with a butter knife, like it was so fire. And then Hunter's like, "Here, bro, I got you something." Gives me like a brand new cell phone, like, you know what I mean? Like, bless me, you know what I mean? Just bless me.
You
Like,
were
like,
shook in that car.
oh, I was scared to
You
death.
shook. I was like, watch this. Hit like 120. He's like, stop.
And so my parole officer in Florida is like, "You got 24 hours to report," right? And so we hang out, we drive around that day, and go back to his house. I like try to get comfortable, which was really weird. The next day I go to parole. Hunter's like, all right, bro. He's like, I got to go to the bank. He's like, so you're going to be all right here? He's like, you're good. You got your phone. You know how to call me. He's like, I'll be right back. Just give me a few minutes. I'm like, all right. I'm like, I'm probably going to be here a couple hours, right? So I walk in there. I sit down. Hunter leaves, and they call my name. Guy calls my name. I go in and pee for him. He's like, all right, I'll see you in 30 days. I'm like, what? He's like, I'll see you in 30 days. I'm like, you don't like need me for a little bit? Like I can leave. He's like, yeah, you're good to go. I'll see you later. And I'm like, I don't know where to go.
Yeah.
He's like, you can't be here. He's like, you gotta leave. I'm like, all right. So I walk outside, call Hunter. I'm like, hey, like, I'm gone, bro. Like, I need you to come get me. And he's like, bro, it's been 10 minutes. I'm sitting in the bank. He's like, I can't leave right now. I have an appointment. I'm like, bro, like, I need you here now. And he's like, give me a few minutes. I'm like, all right. He's like, just walk over to the store next door and like buy something. And I'm like, all right. So I leave the parole office and I walk around back to the Big Lots, and I walk inside. And I'll never forget the feeling. This is like the most horrendous, scariest feeling I've ever felt in my entire life. I walk in there and like first of all, I walk in the door and it's like I'm in awe. I'm like, oh my goodness, like,
It's a lot.
Oh, it's so much, right?
Yeah, it's a lot.
In prison, I had 3 shampoos to choose from. I had 2 toothpastes to choose from, and like 3 toothbrushes. We didn't have a lot of options. Let's say like that, right? But I'm like always like, I got kind of not to say bougie because I got like bought like $5 shampoo in there, but like I was like took care of myself, right? I felt like good. I wanted to like look good, feel good, do good. So I walk in Big Lots and I'm like, I'm gonna get some hair stuff, right? And I'm gonna get some shampoo and some deodorant. And I walk in the shampoo aisle and I just like, I get mesmerized. I'm like staring at the shampoo for like probably 20 minutes.
Did you smell them all?
No, I couldn't touch them. I was just scared. I just was like, I was terrified.
It's
right?
a lot.
Yeah, I was trying to take it all in. Like I didn't know which one was which. Didn't know which one to get. I didn't even know which one was shampoo. I just was looking at this aisle of stuff. Like, and this lady walks by, and she's a worker. And like I said, I'm all jacked and tattooed out, and probably look like a guy just got out of prison. Yeah, and she's like, "Are you okay, sir?" I was like, "I think so." She's like, "You need help?" I was like, "No, I'm all right." And so I leave that aisle and I walk to the next aisle, and that's toothpaste. And then I'm sitting here staring at toothpaste for like probably 10, 15 minutes, and I don't touch nothing. I'm just staring, like, you know, I mean, mesmerized at all the options, and then there's there. And she's like, "Are you sure you're okay?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "I'm really just waiting on my friend." I was like, I'm gonna go. Thank you." And she's like, "All right, have a good day." So I walk over and I buy a Sprite, and I walk outside, and as soon as I walk through the doors, I just start crying. I try to pay for my Sprite. I start crying. I break down, and I'm freaking out. I was like, I can't do this. I was like, there's no way I can make this. I call Hunter. I'm crying. I was like, "Hunter, you gotta come, bro." I was like, "I'm scared." He's like, "What's wrong?" He's laughing, and I'm like, He's like, "What's wrong?" I said, "Bro," I was like, I swear he's laughing at me. I was like, "I'm freaking out." I was like, "I'm freaking out." I was like, it's funny for you guys. I'm scared. Yeah. You know what I mean?
No, it's just a very Hunter move, I feel like.
Hunter's like, he's at Big Lots, dude. Chill the fuck out. He's like, I'll be there in a minute, dude.
Yeah. And I'm like, having a
crying.
severe panic attack.
Yeah.
Straight into it. Yeah.
Hunter's like, yeah, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, you'll be there. And so I go outside and I call him, and he's like, he starts laughing. "I'll be right there, bro. Just calm down and sit down and drink your drink." I'm like, all right. So I sit down and I'm crying, I'm freaking out. And I call this girl, it's a good friend of mine. When it was actually the girl that I like messed over, a side girl. It was actually her best friend, but she's like one of my really, really good friends too. And has been since I was a kid. Very supportive of me. And I called her and I'm like, I'm crying still. And she's like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "I'm freaking out. Like, I don't know what's going on." She's like, "Just calm down." She's like, "Just breathe." And I'm like, all right. So I start breathing, and she's like, "It's gonna be okay." She's like, "How's your day going?" And she just kind of mellowed me out. Like, she grounded me, and she's like, "Yeah, that's good." You know,
much nicer than me.
Yeah, way nicer than you. And, you know, talked about her kid and her dog. And this is someone that I would call when I was incarcerated. Like, I'd be in prison, I would call her, and she would like, we just conversate, you know, for hours, like 15-minute phone call intervals, but I would call her back to back and we just hang out. So it felt calming to hear her voice, you know what I mean? Like almost normal. And I was probably like 10, 15 minutes on the phone with her. Then Hunter pulls up, and like when he pulls up, I'm like, yes, you know what I mean? Like, all right, I'm good now. And I hang up, get in the car, and we pull out and we drive down to the beach and check some things out. And then we had called one of our other friends from home, and he's like, he tried to tell him what I was going through. And then he's like, "Oh yeah." He's like, he had some time too. And he's like, "You're probably getting flooded with emotions and you're probably freaking out." He's like, "You're going to make it. You're going to be all right." And, you know,
you're talking about Rich, huh?
I am talking about Rich. Yeah. Remember we just went to the beach and we had called him and talked to him.
Yeah.
And, hearing someone else reassure me that, that's normal and I was going to make it, you know what I mean? Felt good. Well, she's never been incarcerated, but, he has friends that's been through it and he knows what it's like. And, you know, they're right. You know, I had it under control. I just need to stay focused on God and stay grounded and stay in some meetings, man. And now I'm here. I mean, there's a lot more to it, but.
Yeah. What was it like blowing up on social media after just being out for like, really, you were only out for like 6 months. You started blowing up, huh?
Yeah, I actually, so like I was out like a week, right? I didn't know how to use Facebook. I didn't. It's been so long. Like Hunter, I'm like, Hunter, how do I save a contact? And he's like, oh, let me see your phone. He gives me a brand new iPhone too. Like at that, like he could have just gave me like a Nokia, right? Like something normal. He's like, here's a brand new iPhone. You can have it. And I'm like, well, what is this? Like, what's an Apple ID? I don't know how to do that. And so then I got it figured out kind of, and then like my phone just starts blowing up. I made one post about getting out and like, you know, trying to stay focused and reach my goals, and it got like crazy amount of attraction. I got all this support, and my phone kept going ding, 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 ding. I'm like, okay, this is annoying. Like, how do I shut it up? Like, you know, it wouldn't stop dinging, and it was like constantly people calling me and telling me, like, reassuring me, hey, I'm proud of you. Hey, you do good. Like, and then so my mom, she was like heartbroken, right? Cause so she's never flew or she's never been out of like the hometown. She's like real like insecure about like traveling and stuff. So she's never really been out of my area. And then when I told her I was moving to Florida, she's like, you'll never come back here. She's like, well, I'm just glad you're out. At least I know you're safe. And she's like, I'll probably never see you again. And so she never thought I would be out. And that's the first time that she had saw me like drug free and like a clear mindset in like 15 years since I was like 11. Right. So I moved to Florida and I made plans just to pop up on her one day. So like 6 months later, I called my sister, we made plans. She picked me up from the airport. We surprised my mom. We go to her house and my sister called my mom like, hey mom, come outside. I got some stuff I want you to see, some vases, some flower vases. You might like one. And so my mom comes walking outside, like been cleaning her house all day, didn't know what was going on. And I jump out of the car and I walk around the car and she thinks she's getting vases, right? And she walks out, I walk around the car and she sees me and she like almost has like a heart attack. Like she like is in awe and like backs up. There's a car coming. She backs up in front of this car. Like she didn't know what was going on. I caught her completely off guard. And I got that on video and I posted that video on social media. That video has probably went viral. I don't know how many times. I mean, numerous times.
Well, how many views did the first one get?
Like 45 million.
Wow.
Something like 45 million.
Oh, you went viral.
Yeah, super viral.
Yeah.
And like everyone who shared it went like viral. Like it's went viral on like a bunch of people's pages too. Like,
yeah.
And the good thing is like the emotion that you see on my mom's face, that's what it is. The power like of her seeing me and like her being happy. Like, and she starts crying and I start crying. We hug like, you know, that really touching for families, man. You know, it's beautiful. And then I went viral with a bunch of other things too, more content with my mom and my sister.
Was Hunter sharing your stuff or did you guys go viral separately?
Separately.
Holy shit.
I helped him make the video, but it went viral.
Yeah. I didn't have it all down.
You had the Hunter formula. That's what
Hunter
it is.
was giving you all the tips and the tricks.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Directing.
He still directed me.
Yeah.
And still laughing at me.
Yeah.
I'll make something like, bro, that's terrible. Let me help you.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro.
No, write it like this.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
Take the apostrophe out, put it here, add a comma. You can't spell. I'm like, bro, calm down. I'll literally post a status and he'll like call me like, bro, you spelled that wrong. I'm like, bro, I was texting and driving. Yeah. He's like, fix it. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
He's my savior.
I love that.
Oh man. What's it like having never really left West Virginia and then now you've like flown to other countries sober?
It's I guess you could say it's like mind-boggling, man. It's you know, it's something I never thought I'd get to experience. You know, up prior to being incarcerated, I never left my hometown. I never seen a beach, never seen the sand. You know, I never thought I'd ever get a chance to do none of that because it's like I guess it's kind of like your thinking. It's depending on how your mindset is. It's kind of like you're closed off to things, right? And I remember like when I was incarcerated, I read a lot of like personal growth books and like mindsets and like Rich Dad Poor Dad and just different things that like you can achieve anything your mind thinks it can achieve, right? So like, instead of shutting yourself down, think about what I got to do that. So like I already knew like I wanted to do certain things, but then I like. You know, Hunter's helped me out a lot, you know, put me in the right places and guide my footsteps and put me in contact with people. And, you know, I've got to like travel places that I never thought I ever would. Been out here to California with you guys a few times. Went to Costa Rica a couple times. Was in Florida for a while, all over Florida actually. Been to Miami numerous times, Clearwater. I mean, just seeing things that most people never get to experience. You know, my sister's never been to the beach. She's never seen a palm tree. She's never experienced none of that. One of these days, I'm going to make sure to like take her out and let her see that stuff. You know, she deserves that.
Convince her to get on a plane.
Yeah, I think she would do it. She actually almost was convinced of moving to Florida with me when I was down there with his parents. I told her I was going to try to buy a house and move her down, and she was like willing to come. So that's one of the goals I've set for myself is to take her to the beach, let her experience that, and help her get situated.
I remember when we first went to Costa Rica together, and Michael landed before me, and he had never been in a country like that, right?
It's like Big Lots all over again.
Yeah, I swear.
Bro.
Like it's off.
The people we were meeting with down there had sent a driver to pick Michael up, but didn't warn him ahead of time. And when he came out of the airport, there's like a bunch of, you've been to San Jose, and there's like a bunch of cab people outside, and they're all trying to hustle you, and they're speaking Spanish, and you're like, what is going on? It's like chaotic. And on the wall, it says, don't get in a car with X, Y, and Z, like these certain type of people, or like outside of like yellow taxis or whatever. And Michael comes out of the airport, and the dude sends him a picture like this. And he was kind of sketchy looking, I'm not gonna lie. He like sends a picture like this with all the cab drivers that they say not to get in the car with. And he was like, I'm here to get you. And Michael was like texting me like, yo,
I'm not going with this.
What the fuck is this, bro? Like, he was so shook. It was great.
So I was walking through the airport, and I stopped like a money exchange place. So I'm like, all right, I want to get some money that like they would spend, right? So I pull out like a couple hundreds, and this this like black lady behind me is super nice. She's like, hey, young man, can I give you some pointers? She's like, you ever been here before? I said, no, why? And she's like, don't pull your wallet out. She's like, put your wallet in your front pocket. She's like, this place is known for petty theft and armed robbery. She's like, so you need to be careful. She's like, they'll target you. And I'm like, oh man. I'm like, all right, thanks. So now I'm like, and then like, I like tighten my backpack down. I'm like, they don't want to try me, get my prison mentality back. And like Hunter said, I'm walking through the airport, getting ready to walk out the door, and there's like armed guards standing around. I'm like, okay, this is getting serious, right? And then Wall says, don't get in taxis unless they're like something taxis. And then I walk through the door, and there's like a line drawn, and there's like 2 security guards on both sides. And like once you cross that line, there's like literally like cab drivers or like Spanish guys, like Hispanics just standing everywhere, like hundreds of them, yelling, like, taxi, taxi. And I'm like freaking out. I don't know where I'm going. I can't speak Spanish. I don't know who I'm talking to. I'm trying to call Hunter. He's still on the plane, has no service. So I walk through, and I try to stop on like the backside of the line because I'm freaking out. Like, I don't know what to do. And the people's pushing me. The security guard's like, no, you got to keep going. You got to keep going. And I was like, no, I don't. He's like, no, you got to go. And I'm like, oh man. So I walk forward, and he's like, these guys are like, you need a taxi? You need a taxi? I'm like, I don't know where I'm at. They're like speaking Spanish. And I'm like, I don't know. And next thing I know, some guy grabs my bag. He's like, come with me. He's like, come with me. I'll take you, in Spanish or whatever. And I'm like fighting to get my bag back. I'm like, no, you ain't getting my bag, right? And next thing, my phone dings, and it's like a picture of this guy. And he's like, I'm here to get you. Come with me. He's like, where are you at? And he's like a picture of him like this. And the dude did not look legit, like, you know what I mean? So now I'm texting him. I'm like, bro, they hacked my phone. They got me. Like, you know what I mean? This guy's trying. I'm about to fight this guy with my bag. Like, and long story short, I'm like, well, where are you at? I text the guy, where are you at? And I got my bag back. Where are you at? I walk over and meet him, and I find out who he is. He's like, I work with the facility. You're fine. And then come to find out, he actually was there to get me, and everything was good. But it was like so scary. Dude, super panicked. It was not cool. And then like the traffic was nuts, like experiencing like third world traffic. Like, everyone's just weaving in and out. There's no lights.
Man,
bad. I love it. It's exciting.
It is exciting.
It's great.
So Hunter just opens you up to a lot of new anxiety experiences.
Super bad.
Overwhelming. He really just likes to put you right in the mix.
Yeah, I think he does it to see like how I react under pressure.
Yeah.
Go learn somehow. Just take the training wheels off.
Yeah. Hunter's like, just throw him right in.
Yeah.
Come on, let's go.
That's the only way.
He's like, just got out of prison. We're going on a race car into Big Lots. Buckle up.
And I'm going to leave you there for hours. Not good.
Oh man,
he's probably thinking like pressure makes diamonds, but then he also pressure busts pipes too, buddy. So you know what I mean?
Oh man,
it's not good.
What's it like being from West Virginia and having lost as many people as you have to fentanyl and heroin?
So if I had my way about it, I would. And this is kind of from like a guy who's been incarcerated. I would lock every single person up who sells fentanyl, and I would throw away the key, even the guys that I'm friends with. And that sucks to say because I know some of my friends are still selling it. But yeah, man, like I've lost more friends than I can count. I remember my stepdad telling me as a kid, Michael, pay attention to your friends because you're going to lose most of them. Especially the way you're living. He's like, a lot of them's going to pass away. And, you know, I didn't understand what he was trying to say. There's a picture of me and like 7 of my buddies. And of the 7, including myself, I think 4 of them's passed away. And I think 5 of us has been to prison. You know, it's like every week I lose somebody that I love, and it's getting old, you know. I wish I could just help everybody. Unfortunately, like I don't have a magic pill yet. I'm working on that. You know, but in reality, like it's sickening, man. It's sad. I just lost a really good friend last week. Somebody that I was very close with. You know, I can literally cry. I want to cry. Thinking about it, you know, I lost a guy I consider my little brother. I lost 2 of my best friends. You know, I grew up with a boy. I met him when he was like 5 years old. I got his name tattooed on my arm. You know, he was one of the guys in my car that I introduced pills to. He's one of the guys that I introduced Percocets or Roxys to. He's one of the guys I introduced heroin to. You know, he passed away at 17. Overdose. This was a kid that was the smartest kid on my crew. He was in all honors classes. He like was involved in the church. He was a star athlete. You know, had a lot of potential. Like I told him that I would buy him his first car because I was selling drugs, but I said you have to buy me my first house. You know, and I knew he was capable of that because he was probably going to be a lawyer. Right. You know, and he didn't get that chance. Another guy that I consider one of my best friends. Super close to me. It was brothers. The one brother is probably one of the strongest guys I know today. He's been through so much and he continues to thrive and raise his family. But his brother lost his life, lost his battle. This is the most caring person that I ever met. This is the guy, like, you need to fix your car, call Chance. You need to fix your house, call Chance. You need a friend to cry on your shoulder, call Chance, and he's gonna come and he's gonna help you. Like he don't want no money. Like I remember my car broke down numerous times, and I would call him. He'd come over and work on my car for hours with me, and he never wanted $1. He just wanted to hang out with me. You know, just want to help out. Like, and he did that for anybody. Like, you know, it wasn't just me. It was anybody that needed help. He's willing to help. Most caring person.
How did he pass away?
He overdosed.
But what happened?
So another one of our really good friends, this is just how sickening this disease is, right? So everyone's like, you know, fentanyl is bad. No, fentanyl is so bad that it like changes your whole mindset and it changes your whole perception of things. So another one of our friends sold him the fentanyl. And when he overdosed, he overreacted and didn't know what to do. So instead of like calling the ambulance and getting him help, because he was probably scared that he was gonna get in trouble for like selling him the dope or something, who knows what he was scared about, but his fear got him and he threw our friend out on the side of the road and allowed him to die next to a strip club.
West Virginia doesn't have Good Samaritan law, do they?
Like you call to save somebody?
Yeah, and they won't charge you with anything.
Well, if you sold to somebody, they'll put you in prison for manslaughter for that.
Right.
Yeah.
Which this guy's in prison now for manslaughter for that, right?
He got found guilty.
Wow.
Yeah. And then the crazy thing is, like, he was like, so we had like a crew of like 7 or 8 guys, and like I said, we were all like best friends. He was one of the guys that was in the crew. He's one of the like brothers. Like it was like Hunter with me, like 5 or 6 other my buddies. Were like super, like they literally consider us a gang. They called us Purple Gang. We weren't really like a gang, like a kind of not really. We didn't carry bandanas. We just wore purple shirts, right? And like, you know, threw big parties.
You too?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh,
purple
you were in
shirts.
the Perp gang?
Yeah. If it ain't purping,
Perp
if it ain't purping, it ain't working. You know,
Was that your thing?
that was our thing, you know, for sure.
And you guys wore purple like every day? Is that the thing? Or like
Fridays.
Not every day.
Fridays.
Yeah, Friday night.
Fridays, everyone wore
But when
purple.
we pull up with like 25 people, 30
Just
people.
perped out.
Perped out.
Why purple?
It's a good color, huh?
Okay, it's a good
It
color.
is a good color. I love purple.
Stands out.
Yeah.
And actually, purple is I remember hearing that purple is a sign of like loyalty and royalty, right? So it's like a strong color. It symbolizes like power, and it was different, right? And I remember like in school, like I always like wanted to be different. I wanted to like stand like everyone liked blue and red and like I was like we all gotta get a color, and we just kind of like I don't know, purple just popped up.
It was the one.
It's the one, man, and they loved it. So we started like this is like when I was like my senior year, and we started the thing, Friday night party night, and purple, like
Purple parties.
I'm saying the whole house, like if there's like 100 people there, like 25 of them wearing purple. The girls would start wearing purple shirts to the school on Friday. They're like, yeah, Michael, let's go. Like it was happening, and so we were the PGOD. Purple Gang or Die.
I need you guys both to put on a whole purple fit and take some pics for
For
like some
sure.
Sears
For
photos.
a throwback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have some.
We should get some like the 90s style pictures.
Yeah.
You know
For
what
sure.
I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the Sears photos, like the
Yeah,
awkward
yeah.
photo shoots. I love those.
We should do that.
That would be fire.
Put your breast perp on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be sick. But yeah.
It was good times back then, honestly.
It was fun.
Yeah.
It was real fun. I remember one time this is when the girlfriend was locked up. I'm backtracking a little bit, but this is pretty fire. This is a memory of me and Hunter. And so this one kid, he's like a punk, right? He's like a big, jacked up, doing steroids. Like everyone's scared of him, but I box, right? And I'm like, I ain't scared of no one. Like you might whoop me, but let's see if you can. Like now I'm like calm, but like when I was like in the madness, before I got strung out bad and I was working out, I was like very cocky, and I was always getting in fights. Like we pull up at a party, people would stop letting us come to parties because like when I was like 18, 19, because they knew like if we showed up there all wearing purple,
fight was gonna happen.
We're fighting.
Yeah.
Like whoever has the prettiest girlfriend, if I ain't got a girlfriend, she's going home with me, or
Really?
or I'm gonna try. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're gonna fight or something. Something's gonna happen. It's not gonna be good. Like we're just punks, and so I threw a huge party, and I had just started talking to this girl while my main girl was in jail, and she was super pretty, beautiful, and my buddy, we're at that trailer that we had caught on fire. We're actually partying at that house, and he's like, all right, you guys gotta go. It's like 4 a.m. My mom's coming. We're like, all right. So we go down to the river lot, and this guy who's like all juiced up and stuff goes over and starts talking to my girl. And I'm drunk, and he's like telling her, like trying to convince her to get in the car with him and his friend, her and her friend, to give him a ride home. I'm like, she's not going with you. She's going with me. And he's like, oh, it's not like that. I just want to give her a ride. He's like, come on, you're safe with me. And like now I'm mad, right? So now we got to fight. Like you got to do this. And I went up and pushed him, and he like, I don't want to fight you, Michael. But anyone else there, he would have loved to fight, but he knew I wasn't scared of him, right? Like you don't intimidate me. Like I'll initiate it, right? And he's like try to like cower down from me or whatever, but it was already too far, and I was drunk, and we got in a fight. I started hitting him. He started running. He like ran around a car from me. This guy's big. This guy's got like 50 pounds on me. Yeah, way bigger, way more muscle, and I hit him a bunch, and he like jumped through a car and like climbed up the other side, and I'm like punching him through it and stuff. And then his buddy come running up on me, like trying to jump me from behind, and Hunter like squared up with him, and Hunter's like, he's like, bro, back up. Like, Hunter, that's the relationship me and Hunter have.
Yeah, yeah. I love that.
Ride or die,
Yeah.
Purple gang.
Word, gang. Oh, gosh.
Yeah, I think maybe just fill everybody in on like where your life is today. You know what I mean? Like so far what we've talked about is, different anecdotal stories. You got out of prison, you're in Florida. Mm-hmm. How much time do you have now?
Okay. So as of today, I have just over 6 years. July 4th, I had 6 years. My life's good today. Mm-hmm. I'm happy with who I am. I'm blessed to be here. I wake up smiling. Most days I wake up comfortable with who I am. I'm able to be a father. I have a little boy. Yes.
How old?
He's 16 months. Yeah, he's 16 months yesterday.
I ain't never seen you wake up smiling.
Bro, that's because you like it's like 5 a.m. and you're like slinging pans around and stuff. He always wakes up first, like every time, and he's noisy. He does it on purpose. Like I swear, he's like, "What are you doing over there, pounding the table?" I'm like, I was trying to sleep. I'm up now. You know what I mean? That's so true, man. Yeah. And but yeah, I mean, I wake up genuinely happy. You know what I mean? I never had a job, never had been able to keep stable employment. I've had the same job, for a couple jobs actually for over 2 years. I became a local boxer, which I boxed before, but I got back into it. I'm a semi-professional boxer. I've boxed on pay-per-view 4 times in the past 3 years. They flew me all over the East Coast. They flew me to Rhode Island. I fought some guy who was American Ninja Warrior champion. He's just fought on Misfits, or he's fighting on Misfits. Like, this guy's got a big name, and I just I basically like dog walked him. I beat him all the way around the ring. You know, and then it's not always about me either. Like, so it's not like I'm just some tough guy. I come out to like Christian music. I come out wearing crosses. I come out like, and you know, they made me look like a bad guy. Like, oh, this guy was in prison. Like, and I wore a cross one time and said I was rescued, not arrested. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, I made a mistake, but that's not me. Like, the real me is I'm a God-fearing man, and I've been saved. I repented of my sins, and I've changed my life. Right?
Come on.
Yeah, amen. You know?
Come on.
And you know, a lot of good things has happened. So I grew up in the you know, in the trenches, I guess you could say, on Lynn Street, the worst of the worst. And now I live in like a super nice neighborhood in my hometown. I have a really nice house. I have a really nice vehicle. But that's not what's important. Like, what's important is knowing like the relationship I have with my mom, right? So my mom loves me. She's always loved me, but like, she genuinely is very supportive of me. Like, every day she tells me how proud she is. But she sends me a card. She lives like 4 blocks from me. She sends me a card like once a week, like, oh, I'm so proud of you. Like, you're the best thing ever. Like, that's the relationship we have, right?
Yeah.
My sister is so proud of me. Like, I'm at the point in my life now, like, I have a nice house. I want to buy her a house, right? I want to get my sister a place to live, and I will do it. Like, I promise you, it's going to happen. I'm been steady looking. I'm going to do whatever I have to do. Even if I have to like help her pay her rent or whatever. She doesn't have a real stable way for income. And I love my sister. She was there for me when no one else was. And she deserves that, you know. I remember getting sentenced to prison, and there was like 4 people in that room. My mom, my sister, my grandma, and maybe one friend, but they were like back and forth, you know. No one really came to visit me when I was incarcerated, except for my mom, my sister, my grandma, my dad, my nephews, and Hunter came to see me. Hunter flew from Arizona, actually, to West Virginia just to visit me. He actually flew from Arizona to West Virginia to my parole hearing to support me. So no one really did nothing for me but him and my family, you know?
Yeah. So,
like, you know, I'm happy today. I'm comfortable with who I am. I give back any chance I get. I speak a lot. I travel around. In my hometown, I spoke like 6-7 times. I spoke at a bunch of different events. I spoke in the high school. I went to the basketball team and spoke to them, give them some motivation. I also teach junior high wrestling. That was kind of like a fluke, really. I'm going to say that because I wasn't really a good wrestler, but I'm like a personal trainer and I'm a really good boxer. So they took me in there to speak to the kids and like give them some motivation and like tell my story, like a censored story. And when I did, all the kids loved it. They're like, oh my gosh, you know, and the coach is my friend. He's like, you should come back sometime and practice with us and help us. And I'm like, yeah, for sure. And the kids are like, yeah, please. And I'm like, okay. So this junior high is the junior high that I went to. And this is like where a lot of my mistakes happened, right? This is where I started doing drugs. This is where I started getting in trouble. I'm like, so how can I make that amends? I make that amends indirectly by helping these kids. These kids are the same kids that my friends had. Like, these kids that I'm teaching wrestling or I'm like guiding them working out, their parents are the ones that I was mean to, the kids that I bullied, the kids that I fought with. So I'm able to like help the parents by helping the kids, you know. It's a good feeling today, you know, being able to be a person that people like, being able to like walk in like a community building and like see like a police officer and him tell me he's proud of me. You know, I just ran a half marathon 3 days ago in my hometown and finished. I had set a goal for myself to do it in a certain time. I had beat that time by like 15 minutes. I did it in less than 2 hours, which, I mean, this might not be the best for some people, but that's really good for me. Like, I'm a short, stocky, fat kid at heart, right? So, you know, I beat my time. And the best part about it was like I showed people like you can do anything you want to be, right? So I wanted to be a boxer. I became a boxer. I wanted to be a runner or a jogger. I became a jogger. I wanted to become like an influencer. I feel like I'm an influencer. I'm able to make a difference, you know, and it's a good feeling. I remember when I finished, there was a cop who was one of the guys who arrested me, and he's like, "Man, Michael, you're really getting it out there." He's like, "I'm so proud of you." Like, you know, just hearing things like that. My uncle Mike, who's the same cop that came in and, you know, told me he was upset with me. He supports me in all my events. He's came to all my boxing matches. He was at my half marathon. He took pictures of me when I was finishing, told me how proud he was. He actually came to my house like an hour later after I finished and brought me like bananas and a liquid IV. He's like, "Here, eat these bananas, drink this liquid IV. You need it." And I'm like, all right, like that's the relationship I have today with my family. You know, they love me and they support me, and that's the best feeling in the world. You know, I
That's
feel like
beautiful.
I feel like I'm making a difference.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
I'm long-winded.
No, I think it was great, man. I think it's excellent.
Yeah.